You might remember the Pythagorean theorem, and we use that really to find the distance from this point P to the point R. Partly because we notice that this makes a right triangle. So if this was side A, B, and C, we could do our distance formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So C would be the square root of the sum of the other two distances. To find those distances, I can subtract here. The y values are the same, so I can just subtract the x values. 8 minus negative 4 squared would be the side A. Side B, you'll notice the x values are the same, so the y values, doing this in the same order, I did 8 minus, actually it doesn't even have to be in the same order. So 3 minus negative 2 squared. We'll take a square root of this. This will be 12 squared, 144, plus 5 squared, 25. Square root of that, that's the square root of 69. And that means the length of this side, C, is 13. So here's the distance formula stated formally. The distance PQ with the points x1 and y1 and x2 and y2 in a plane is x2 minus y1, the quantity squared, y2 minus y1, the quantity squared. That's the distance. We also have the midpoint formula for the same 2 points. To find the midpoint, we really just take the average. We take the average of the x points, x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and the average of the y points, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That gives us the midpoints, or the average of the two. We want to use the distance formula. We want to find the distance and the midpoints both here. So to do that, first finding the distance, the square root, well, from negative 3 to 9, so negative 3 minus 9, the quantity squared, plus negative 2 minus 3, the quantity squared. Well, negative 3 and negative 9 would be negative 12 squared would be 144. From negative 2 to negative 2 and negative 3, that'd make negative 5. 5 squared would be 25. The square root of that, oh, this is the square root of 169. It's our 13 again. So that's the distance, the midpoint. We add the two together. Negative 3 plus 9 divided by 2 gives me my x value. My y value is negative 2 plus 3 divided by 2. So this would be 6 divided by 2 is 3. And negative 2 plus 1 plus 3 would be 1 divided by 2, 1/2. This is an ordered pair, so make sure you put the parentheses around it. Finding the distances here. We'll start with negative 1 minus 1, the quantity squared, plus 0 minus 2, the quantity squared, and we'll take the square root of that. So this would be negative 2, or negative 2 squared would be 4. Negative 2 squared would be 4. We have the square root of 4 plus 4, or the square root of 8. 8 is 4 times 2, so 2 square root of 2 would be the distance. And finding the midpoint, negative 1 plus 1 divided by 2, and 0 plus 2 divided by 2. Well, this would be 0 divided by 2, or 0, and 2 divided by 2, or 1. Remembering again, it's an ordered pair, so use the parentheses. We're also going to talk about circles. The definition of a circle is a set of all points on a plane that are given distance from a fixed point in the plane. The fixed point is called the center of the circle, and the given distance is called the radius. So using the distance formula, as we find that, we call our center HK, and the point out here is XY. So finding that radius, or that distance, we could take x minus h, the quantity squared, plus y minus k, the quantity squared. Square root of that would equal the radius. Or, squaring both sides, we could have the radius squared would equal x minus h, the quantity squared, plus y minus k, the quantity squared. This leads us to the standard form of a circle. A circle with a center hk and a radius r has the equation x minus h, the quantity squared, plus y minus k, the quantity squared, equals r squared. This is called the center radius form, or the standard form. If the center of the circle happens to be at 0, 0, then my h and k's are both 0. They'll have x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Well, then if we know the center and the radius, it's easy to write it's x minus h, so x minus 1 squared plus y minus k. Well, y minus a negative 2 will be a y plus 2 squared equals the radius squared, or 9. That's the equation of the circle. And the same here. Here my center is at 0, 0, so that ends up with the x squared plus y squared equals r squared, or 4. Here, they don't tell us the radius, and we still have to write the equation of the circle. Oh, but what they do tell us, the center is here, and this origin 0, 0 is another point, is a point on the circle, so that means we can find the radius. So the radius will be 1 minus 0 squared plus negative 2 minus 0 squared. The square root of that will equal the radius. So 1 plus 4 equals the square root of 1 plus 4 equals radius, or the square root of 5 equals the radius. So now my circle, x minus h, so x minus 1, the quantity squared, plus y minus k, so y minus the negative 2 will be a plus 2, the quantity squared, equals the radius squared. Well, if the radius is the square root of 5, the radius squared is 5. So here we're going to have to do the same thing. They tell us the center, and they tell us a point it goes through. So negative 3 minus 2 squared plus 9 minus 5 squared will equal the radius. Square root of 25, this will be 4 squared, 16 equals the radius. So the square root of 41 equals the radius. And my equation becomes x minus h, so x minus a negative 3 is plus 3, the quantity squared, plus y minus k, so y minus 9, the quantity squared, equals the radius squared. If the radius is 14, is the square root of 41, then the radius squared is 41.